Now then?
Yeah.
We should be live.
Okay, we're live.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the January 5th MSAD11 Policy Committee meeting. Quick introductions. I'm Tony Veet, the chair of the Policy Committee.
Nicole Medore.
Matt Marshall.
Pat Hopkins, superintendent.
I think we'll be joined a little later by one more committee member shortly.
So, we have a very long agenda. I do not expect that we'll be able to get through the agenda, just so you're aware. That's not my expectation. But as I mentioned to you at your last meeting, over school vacation, I was going to spend some time to really go through the policies that had not been reviewed in the last 5 years and really needed to be done. And so I did a major push. And so all of the policies that you see, for the most part, really brings us up to date. Now, curriculum still has a few more to look at. I have special ed needing to look at a couple. I've sent one off to Terry for technology to take a look at. So there are some scragglers out there, but for the most part, I think if we get through all of these, then none of your policies will be more than 5 years old, which is awesome. That is the ultimate goal. I just shared with you the spreadsheet, the updated spreadsheet, and it is color coded. I don't know what the legend is here for the colors. They're in the back. And it just shows you where we are with all of them. And so, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. We're getting really, really close here. So this is exciting. So I know it's sad life, right? That I think this is exciting, but it is.
Actually, not quite an agenda item. I was thinking about that in light of changes that, are to come. How do we incorporate your brain? I mean, how do we incorporate this into our practice? That's going to be.
You have a few more years.
We got a few years.
We have 3.5 more years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, hopefully this will help whoever ultimately replaces me. And I would say it will be the expectation of the board for regular review of your policies. Main school management, one of their responsibilities is policy review. And so I think quarterly, they will send me a newsletter that will include new policies, maybe if there were changes in the law, and a new policy needs to be created, or an existing policy needs to be changed as a result of a change at the legislative level. And one of those newsletters also provides the list of all required by law policies, all the ones that are recommended, so that we can always make sure we stay on top of.
Kind of compare this to.
Correct,
Yeah,
just to make sure that we're legal, and that we're meeting all of the requirements.
That's just a thought. Has there ever been any thought of maybe not having a policy committee and leaving all of the policies that are relevant to each area, like curriculum, for example? We just went through, I think, 7 or 8 policies the other day as part of the curriculum committee. Now they've got to go in front of the policy committee. I mean, it seems to me it's kind of redundant when, I don't know, just a thought.
Well,
So
if you
at
don't
every
have a
curriculum
policy-
committee, we carve out 15 or 20 minutes just for policy.
right. Well, the hope is, because you've already done that work, we won't need to spend a lot of time on it here because you've already done that work and we want to respect the work that you've done. But if you don't have a policy committee, then what entity of the board is going to be charged with reviewing and updating the policies? I don't know that you really want this given to the full board. And while there are some policies that are specific to curriculum,
Yeah.
a lot of them are pretty generic.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
No, not a stupid question at all, but
Because there is, yeah, a little bit of overlap with
yeah,
some.
there absolutely is.
Sure.
Finance as well.
Yeah,
You know, so. All right, so if we can get started then, ideally, we will be able to get through this entire list and all of the policies by February. So maybe we get March, April, May, and June off.
That's our incentive right there,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, so grants. The grant policy was on your agenda at the last meeting. And if you recall, there were some conversations about changing will to shall. And I don't remember all of the other questions. They're in my notes elsewhere. But if you look at the draft that's in your packet, those changes were made. Jack did a really nice job of going through and sending a draft to me. So I made all of those changes. I also sent it to Andrea. And Andrea did another review as well. We added some additional clarification in a couple spots where we felt that individuals could misinterpret. So I don't know if you've had a chance to read the draft policy, what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I liked the addition of shall. It makes it really clear, like, yeah, there's an obligation to do that affirmatively. So that's pretty clear that way. And what I think, just to back out the other side, some of the changes say the superintendent shall, if it exceeds $100,000, that kind of implies that less than $100,000 means the superintendent has sort of, can just authorize
Correct.
that grant application.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. I had a couple of thoughts on that page. Oh, right, I know, right, where.
Who turned up the heat?
I know, I had to move
I didn't-
right over the vent.
Wow.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's like,
Us big guys can't take the heat.
is my jacket rated for that? Let's see, so paragraph are we on? I should have numbered that myself, but the paragraph that says the superintendent shall present the grant application or proposal, comma, exceeding $100,000. Right, do you see that paragraph?
Yeah.
So I was wondering if it would clarify it, the superintendent shall present the grant application or proposal, present any grant application or proposal exceeding $100,000 to the board for approval. So kind of present any grant application or proposal, lose the commas.
That's it.
Thank you.
Does that? Does that make sense?
I happen to have a copy of this policy, so it's just going to be easier.
Yeah.
So, the superintendent shall present any grant application or proposal, delete the comma,
Yeah.
exceeding $100,000, delete the comma, to the board for its approval.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, cool.
that's
I
fine.
didn't do too many of the comma things, but
Mhm.
yeah. And then the next sentence, the first sentence of the next paragraph, it just read funny to me. Requests from parent teacher or which could be hyphenated there. Requests from parent teacher organizations and other school affiliated groups for the schools to apply for grant funds must be submitted to the superintendent. Requests, what are we saying? For the schools to apply, what is that?
So requests from parent teacher organizations and other school affiliated groups for the school. that wish to apply for grant funds must,
Okay,
okay,
yeah.
I think that's what it means.
So I was wondering if maybe we could rephrase it to applications from parent-teacher organizations and other school affiliated groups must be submitted to. So, applications from parent-teacher organizations and other school affiliated groups. And then that's where it picks up for grant funds must be submitted to the superintendent.
Okay, I'm sorry, I think I missed some of that. So applications from parent-teacher organizations and other school affiliated groups, what?
Yeah. For grant funds must be submitted to the superintendent.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, you see where that, yeah.
Yep,
Because that's what that's,
right,
yeah, saying, that has to go to the superintendent.
okay. Mhm.
And I think I had one other on that page. I know I started off swinging, but I swear I laid back. Let's see, 2 paragraphs down, the last sentence is staff positions created through grant funds must be filled pursuant to to board policy. And my only thought was, do we have a cross-reference for that? Like, is there a policy another policy we're referring to? Do we need
The
to?
hiring policy? Oh, like that.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see about the hiring personnel.
Yeah.
I mean, we have professional hiring staff, so maybe if you would like to cross-reference, then we could just put at the end,
Okay.
policy GCF,
Nice.
professional staff hiring. That way you don't need to do anything
Yeah.
with the language, okay?
Good. Yeah.
That good?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So we're set with DD?
GD, yeah.
Any other changes? Fantastic. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, I read through these and thought they were all pretty simple and straightforward, and I walk into this. I said, geez, it'll be fast.
All right, so the next one is a brand new policy called deposit and investment. This policy is actually being recommended by our attorney. I don't recall why it was through the audit process, something, and Andrea was speaking with our attorney about some of the policies that we had and whether he had any recommendations, and said, well, this looks like a policy that you're missing, that we would recommend that you have. So he provided the sample policy and I included it verbatim.
Cool.
Yeah, good catch. And I don't think I had anything there.
Awesome. All right, so the next one.
Actually, sorry, my only question was, yeah, did Andrea see it? Yes,
Yes.
she told, yeah. I'm good.
Andrea saw all of the policies that begin with D,
With all the
because they're all financial policies. Before they were brought here, I asked her to give input.
Nice.
All right, the next one is expense authorization reimbursement. This is an existing policy. I don't have any recommended changes. It just captures our practice, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Right, then tax sheltered annuities, DLB. Again, I don't have any changes.
Yep.
That's okay. Right. Cash in school buildings, DM. I just removed one of the MSAD11s. Okay. And then school properties disposition, DN. And I changed a he, she to they. I think that's the only change I made in that policy.
Yeah.
All set there? We are on a roll. Okay, then next we
Can
go,
I back up on that one real quick? After changing he, she to they, do we need to take the S off of develops?
yeah, there's a line through it.
Oh, I can't
You
even
probably,
see
it's hard
that.
to see.
It's too small a screen.
Yeah.
My bad. Moving along. Thank you.
Good catch, though.
Yeah.
Chemicals.
I have glasses on. A lot of good that did.
EBAA, chemical hazards. So this is one of our required policies, I'm pretty certain. So I went in once again to the main school management template document, and you can see that I made some changes based on that document.
Yeah, that looked good. Really condensed it. And
Yes.
Is Nate or Gabe?
It's
or-
Gabe.
yeah,
Yeah, it's Gabe.
he's named here, oh, maybe in another one.
I think it's in the next.
Yeah,
Is it the next one? I don't see another one here. Oh, he's named in the pest management one.
yeah.
I may make a note to look at this one again. This EBAA. If you're fine with it, that's great, but I think I'm gonna look at the main school management policy again. I thought that I was supposed to delete these 3 paragraphs and I was going to add another paragraph. And I don't see that I added anything else, but I may just be remembering wrong, so I'll go back, and if I find that I left something out, I'll just bring it back to you. If not, if it is correct, then we'll just move it forward.
Does he have to have some type of a designation or school for this?
He has some training, but he works closely with main school management, and I think they provide him that training. I don't think it's a specific school. But he does have to have some OSHA training. Okay.
I enjoyed learning the phrase chemical hygiene. It's like,
For chill.
Emergency evacuation drills. The only change there is under legal reference. I added a legal reference that was missing.
oh, nice. I just had one thing in the second sentence of the first paragraph. It says schools at all levels, K-12. Should that be like in parentheses? Schools at all levels, no comma, parentheses, K-12,
Should it be pre-K-12?
or yeah.
I don't know that it requires pre-K. The draft says K. I don't know if it's, I mean, we could add it ourselves if you would like it to be pre-K. I mean, clearly the pre-K students are
And
in the building,
Yeah.
right?
They might be part of a fire drill, right? Or, yeah,
If they're in the building at the time,
at
yeah.
the time, yeah, nice.
What do you want to do about parentheses? You want to, I don't know, this is just the way it came
Yeah.
to me, so I don't care. Well, you know
Okay.
what, we did add pre-K further down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice,
Okay.
yeah. If that's the way it came, maybe just add in the pre-K,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right, then we have, if you're fine with that, then bomb threats. Again, this is another required policy.
It just so happens that we happen to be reviewing these after the nonsense of last month or so.
Yes.
Ironic.
Of course, this is specific to bomb threats. And we have not had a bomb threat in years. Oh, I see, down here on page 2, there's an RSU, MSAD11.
Yeah.
That needs to be cleaned up. I missed that.
This is reporting, if we don't have an RSO,
RSO.
That's
Oh,
what
it's
we-
SRO?
Yeah.
Sorry.
sorry.
Or other employee in a
Oh,
position
I
of
didn't see that,
authority.
sorry.
Anything
I think it looks good.
else? Okay. All right. Then school closing and cancellations. You're just authorizing me not to sleep the night before school is potentially canceled.
Oh,
That doesn't feel good.
yeah. Is that what this says?
That's what happens.
That's what this says.
I think it was 11 o'clock,
Oh.
1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
But you know, I added, in this particular one, I just added a piece at the bottom. I really didn't have to do
Oh, yeah.
that, but I feel like the Department of Education has tried to be much clearer about all of our options to make up school. Should we have any type of cancellation? And this 1 hour extension of the school day is now, of course, allowed, whereas in years past, it never was. You had to make up the full day in some fashion. So I added that, so it didn't get lost.
Yeah,
And that people understood we could use that as an approach.
During the storm of 78, I think we had 3 days here where we had to go on Saturdays
Oh, really?
on
Wow.
Pray Street.
So Pat, this policy is just for severe weather, not necessarily like when we had to close the middle school because of illness. Or is there language we could add or change to include a situation like that?
Well, you could add it. I mean, it does say other emergencies which present threats to the safety of the students and the staff. And in that particular instance, I closed it due to safety reasons, that we didn't have enough staff to adequately supervise our students. And so I had to close. It wasn't just because of the number of students that were out ill.
Right,
It was really a safety issue.
right. So what does this policy,
I
that
think
would
that
cover
covers
that?
that, yeah.
So when we have the conversation later around reaching to the commission or DOE around forgiveness of that day, like is that language we should add? That you don't need to go to the board to ask for, are you asking permission? I'm not even sure.
The law requires, or at least the practice, I'm not sure which it is, right now at the Department of Education, requires that the school board submit the request, not the superintendent. And actually, once we get to that, I've spoken with someone from the DOE, and there are 2 options, not just a waiver. Another is an alternative schedule, which I'll talk to you about, because actually that's what I was proposing. Give me a waiver because I have this alternative schedule. And so you won't need to approve that proposal, but if it's not accepted, then we'll have to go back to the waiver. So I may ask you to just approve the waiver should my other request be denied.
Yep.
So and I'll talk about the plan. Okay, so EBCE is all set?
Yep.
All right, then EBCF is the automated external defibrillators. So, and this is one where I added a paragraph.
is there a font size discrepancy on that new paragraph?
Oh, maybe. I'll go back and look at it. It's possible because what I probably did is I just cut and paste it from the template from MSA, from Maine School Management, and I didn't notice that there was a font difference. The other thing is that note at the bottom, I'll probably delete that. That's just a note that doesn't typically remain in policy. It should be deleted.
Yeah, it's one of those, for our reference.
Correct. Okay, are we all set with that one? All right, then we have pest management. Yeah, that is comprehensive. That is Gabe. So I don't know if you have any questions. I don't have any recommended changes on the first policy, ECB. Maine School Management no longer has an EBC E1. So I'm recommending that we rescind that. And the ECB E2 is now just ECB-E. And that is the notice of the planned pesticide application. So I think that there was some redundancy. And so they eliminated the E1.
So that's why the ECB E2, the 2 it has a strike through on it.
Yes. Questions or concerns?
So,
All right, sweet. All right, EDC, use of school equipment. I did not make any changes there. All set with that one?
good. Yeah.
Okay. Student transportation services. Made a couple small changes. The first change is in the first paragraph. And when it says that the board will provide transportation for all students living beyond a reasonable distance from their school or from a scheduled bus stop, as the board has determined. The previous policy had no determination of what that was, right? So what is a reasonable distance? I threw in, this distance is defined as 1 mile. You could say that's totally unreasonable. We want it to be a half a mile. We want it to be 2 miles. We want it to be 5 miles, whatever. I just put that in as a starting point. The other thing is under health. There are exceptions. And we had, let's see, that the established walking conditions may be made for students with disabilities as required by their IEP, and I added or individual health plans as determined really by a 504. So those were the 2 changes I made to that particular policy.
If we left that first piece, the definition of the reasonable distance as 1 mile, is that to say that if somebody lived less than a mile from the school, we could say we're not picking you up and dropping you off?
Yes.
And would we ever do that?
We could, I mean, depending on safety. In our district, I sometimes get frustrated at the number of stops that we have. Because we will see students that are relatively close to one another who could walk and combine.
Community bus stop.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it is the pressure from families, But there's also, it's not as safe as it once was. If we don't have a sidewalk for students to walk on safely, then we are more likely to stop in more multiple places, even if it's not that far. We know how erratic drivers can be, that they're not necessarily paying attention. And if there's not a sidewalk, we try to prevent students from having to walk on the road. So to answer your question, I think part of it would really depend on whether there's a safety issue as a result of the location of where the student would have to walk to be able to get to school.
And is that grade specific? Like, we could say that to a kindergartner?
No,
No.
we
there's
have.
like something in here.
Right, we actually have down here like pre-K and kindergarten, they are pickup and delivery at their
Right,
home.
regardless of distance.
Correct.
So let's
As
just,
it is now, sorry, Matt,
No, go
the elementary school kids, I think even straight up to fifth grade, the bus driver had to make sure that, an adult received them or they went in the house and stuff like that, so. I mean, that's written down somewhere.
Yes, let me see here.
I mean, for example, like the roads that we have that would concern me would be like 201. If you had a child that's in fourth grade, right, that lives, let's just say up by Dave's Diner, and they go to LER, would you expect them to walk to school every day?
Not
No, I
necessarily.
wouldn't. I mean,
I guess I'm wondering if we even need that distance piece there. Like, I can't imagine we would tell a student that we're not picking you up because you live too close to the school.
well, I think it's probably a good idea to have it in there just to start the conversation maybe, right? If a parent has an issue, well, most parents, I would think, would take the issue up if the scenario I just gave, for example.
Well, the other things, there's so many drop-offs and pickups of parents at schools because they live off the beaten path and the bus doesn't go down there to begin with. That's an alien concept to me. Not being from
I think your point, putting it in, Pat, is kind of what Matt's saying, right? That it gives us a clear definition to start from and then negotiate. I guess I wouldn't want to, be stuck into something where we do say, no, first grader, you got to walk,
2 mile home.
7/8 of a mile home.
Most parents wouldn't let that happen, but at least that would allow them to, maybe trigger them to have a conversation with Pat or Gabe or somebody.
Right. And we do periodically receive, I'm just scanning our policy book. We do occasionally have phone calls, from parents questioning the route and the bus stop and can a bus go in a different place, or we don't think this is a safe stop, can we move somewhere else? So those are commonplace conversations.
Well, I've been noticing, I think it's probably a high school pickup at like 6:30 on Brunswick Ave. Right across from, where is it, Center Street? Anyway, so that's like a community pickup. I like the idea of that. So I'd certainly want to promote, how can we, have that group pickup spot.
But it has to be done safely, and we
That's
try
safety.
not to have a
Paramount.
pickup that requires a student to have to walk across a major road. I mean, there are times where you have to, there are no alternatives, but we try really hard not to do that, because it is potentially a safety issue.
Have you ever in the past said no?
No to a parent?
It says, regardless where they live, I want my kid picked up.
Yes, we have said no. Part of it is, I'll give you an example, of where we've had to say no. Like, we have West Gardner and the town line, and we've had people that live in West Gardner who want their child delivered to LER. because of a daycare situation or whatever, we're like, no, we just can't do that. Given our roots, it can't happen. I would say right now, we try to be more lenient and accommodating as much as our transportation department has the flexibility to work with families around daycare pickups and drop-offs. We lost 4, 5 daycares over the summer and throughout MSAD11, which created a huge hardship for our families. So there was one daycare out in Dresden, just over the town line on 27. And so we worked something out with them because they had 7 or 8 students that actually went to that daycare. Whereas typically we never would cross the town line. So
Yeah.
I like the changes in there. We've got the hazardous walking exception C there, and people can make requests in writing to the superintendent. So there's a process if people do want to seek a change.
okay, so we're set with EEA. And then EEAA, that's the riders and just the expectations for riding. I think the last time, it would have been 2018, that we actually added that each student may have no more than 2 designated bus stops, because we had families that were giving a different designated bus stop every day of the week. And it just became too difficult for our transportation department to manage. But other than that, this is the policy that we've had in place for a number of years. So, okay. EEAEA is student transportation employee requirements, training responsibilities. You can see I made some adjustments there. This follows the law about what is required of our bus drivers and how we must respond in certain circumstances.
There's a his, her there in
That I missed?
paragraph 1, yeah.
In paragraph 1?
First sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's like a-
It was hidden.
It's snuck right in.
All right, so EEA, and you would think I would use the whole find.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
no, it's not. That's not what you're about.
I do the manual search.
Wow.
Trust technology.
Anything else on this, with this one?
I just had a sort of question is, wait, sorry, no, it's the next one. I'm good on this, on
Okay.
EEA.
So the next one is EEAEAA. And this is your drug and alcohol testing of bus drivers. And you have a question on this one?
Actually, I think it was
R?
it was the next, the procedure, so.
Okay.
This one's.
All right,
good.
yeah, so the next one is just the procedures for that. All right. I will do my best to answer.
And I think it was really just about, do we have any version of it where we say anything about, like over the counter, like a brand name, like a NyQuil or Benadryl? Yeah, like a drowsy formula. So,
Yeah, not that I know of. I mean, this policy follows federal law.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty.
yeah,
It's pretty tight. I would not feel comfortable in making changes without consulting our attorney or someone.
yeah, all right. Fine with me, just sort of my own curiosity
Yeah.
or whatever.
It's a long policy too.
Yes, how would you test for that? You're gonna test for
Yeah,
dextromorphin or whatever the hell Robitussin.
Yes, exactly.
Anything else on those? Okay. So the next is EEAEF, which would be video cameras on transportation vehicles. Don't really have any changes. I think I deleted one MSAD11 and I might delete one up in the first paragraph. We have two there. But
I noticed the second paragraph, it says videotapes, and then later says tape, which is fine, except that,
you know,
and then later it uses video recordings.
yeah, that we should say video recordings.
Yeah.
Or you could just even say video is used as a basis for discipline.
Are they digital now?
Yeah.
But
Actually,
there is a difference between video and video recordings.
Yeah, right.
Video just.
video is what you see versus the thing that you're retaining as a record.
Right, and we
Yeah.
need to demonstrate that we are
Yeah.
retaining those.
And I think video record would still include videotapes. We're not talking about record albums, we're talking about the recording, right?
Right,
So,
right.
So I would just change tape to record, video
Okay.
record.
Is there anything in here that mentions the amount of time we keep the video recording?
There is not.
Oh, yeah, is that subject to?
I thought it said something about,
30 days, somewhere.
Does it say 30 in here? I didn't see it.
Where was it? I thought we had 30 days.
Doesn't seem like much.
Maybe it was a different, yeah,
if it's used in a disciplinary proceeding, it will be retained
right.
as part of the student's record.
And do you know, I mean, part of it is our system and how much space it holds. So do you know that rotation?
There was a point where we had a policy that it was a much shorter period of time. So we rolled the retention rate back. Then we got new servers and we were capable of holding it for about a year. So we really don't have it. It would be nice to have a recommendation of how much time.
I'm thinking if there's an incident, we know about it, it takes longer than 30 days for it to surface.
Yeah.
I mean, is there cost involved or whatever?
No, if
I
we
would think
already
if we have
have,
the ability, we could do at least 90.
Yeah,
90 days would seem to be
Yeah.
responsible to me.
Yeah. I mean, if an allegation is something that happened on the bus, a kid might not want to talk about it right off, and then they think about it for maybe on the 45th day, they're like,
I gotta say
I can't
something.
deal with it anymore, I need to tell somebody, right? So
You
I
know,
think 90 days probably is pretty reasonable.
well, and there's Gabe.
one thing to check is the bus
Can you,
bus
yeah,
might not have the same ability to keep the videos long.
Gabe, your ears were
Just in
burning.
time.
What do you got?
We're talking about
It was all
the
of this.
policy, video cameras on transportation vehicles. And the policy does not indicate the length of time in which there'll be, the recordings will be saved.
Okay.
And so debating whether we should be adding language to the policy to say that we will save the recordings for like 90 days. Does that
So-
seem appropriate or not?
There again, depending on how often this is used, because it just runs and it overwrites over itself. So it's not like a set day. I suppose if we did that, we would have to pull each one and reformat them every 90 days. That's a process.
How do they download? Do they
You
go
take
right
the
up?
cassette right out, and
It
so
is a
you bring
cassette.
the cartridge in, and then we have to plug it into our computer.
Oh, so it's not like automatically in the cloud?
They're not cloud-based.
So what I hear you saying is that you don't want us to put any sort of stipulation in right now
Yeah.
because it would become a capacity issue for you and Jeff.
Yeah, it would be something we'd have to plan every, like I said, 3 months to make sure we pull and link every video that's on there. I mean, we can. It takes a little while to pull them.
You can't do that, because if you're gonna hold them for 30 days, and you've got 30 days on that, then when you wipe that off,
Oh, yeah, it's
Right,
gone.
it'll
It wipes it
reset.
off, right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you
wipes
mentioned
everything.
tapes, right? So how many days can you have it on a tape?
If the driver, if he does a run every day, There's at least a couple months worth on there.
Okay, so,
Yeah, so- Yeah, I mean,
So if it does it
just
automatically,
get a
and-
couple, have it.
yeah, I mean, if you did it to say each school year, something like that, where you wipe the video each school year, or it just I think it's like a terabyte drive or something like that.
Or
probably.
just do two
So it just
extra drives, and
overwrites.
when they fill one up, they put a new one in.
Yeah.
And they just recycle
Well,
the
and
drives.
we do switch them out depending on if we have because we want to make sure there's always a camera on there and a video unit running. So when we pull a cassette out of there, we put a different one in.
Right, so it's a matter of just having
So we
more
have like
cassettes.
four extras.
how much are the cassettes?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. We'd have to find out.
I mean, what is your recommendation for the board?
Make sure it's on SLP.
It's, what is your recommendation to
I mean,
to
I'd
leave it
rather
as
not-
is,
yeah,
or-
Yeah, I'd rather not have to wipe them. I mean, then that's the tough piece. If we need it, it's
Gone, yeah.
there, it's gone. And I mean, it is, because we don't download them onto another hard drive or computer. It's the same with our cameras like at the bus office. It just overwrites itself, correct? Isn't that kind of how it does after a certain amount of time?
Well, the systems that we have huge drives, and those have about a year capacity.
Okay, they do. Yeah, ours, I mean, if you're running the bus every day, it's a couple months. We look back and it's usually just a couple months back.
Well, a couple months probably good enough.
Yeah, so I would think that, I mean, my recommendation would be to take Gabe's suggestion and just not add anything to the policy and just leave it as is, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there's so many variables.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gabe, thank you.
Okay, that's all right.
How often, Gabe, have you needed, something has come up and you didn't have the video anymore?
It could happen, but I can't
Has it
think of
ever
a
happened?
time that it's happened.
Okay, all right,
Because usually when somebody does video, it's pretty
instant,
instant or within a week.
yeah,
It
okay,
usually is within a week.
all right.
So,
Awesome, thank
Yeah,
you, Gabe. So are we set on that policy?
And I had a quick question, not about the policy, but the assumption is every time, like, I'm thinking after school going to a football game, is it like just the bus driver turns the bus on, all of and the camera just kicks on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I'm not sure, right, if all of our trip buses have cameras or not. That is something that we worked on. So we have more cameras than we've ever had before, and the cameras are really clear. They're really good. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys are good, people are rolling in for the meeting at 6:23. I mean, we got through the majority of this page, so that's pretty good. So hopefully we can finish the next one, the next section, either next meeting or the following. Now, what we didn't do, here's a quick question. What we didn't get to are all of the Is. Now, all of the Is were already approved and endorsed by the curriculum committee.
Tony's on that committee too.
Tony's on that committee, you're
So
on
is
that
Matt.
committee, and Matt. Given that
And she is too.
given that the three policy committee members, how do you feel about just pushing them forward to the board?
Sounds good to me.
Good, yeah.
Well, that's like to
I'll
your
check
point
with the
earlier,
chair.
Matt.
He said
Sounds
yes, all right, so Matt's are in
It's
agreement.
like what you said, is it? Oh, yeah.
So, I just cut off another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 policies.
Oh, we'll speak in February.
You'll be done in February.
So am I gonna need to recommend them tonight just for a read?
So these will go to the February
Okay,
board
good.
meeting, but I do need, before you go, since we have a quorum, a recommendation to take these to the board for their first and second readings.
So
I'll second it.
And is that all 4 of you?
yeah, on paper.
All right. And we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
When I pulled out of the
Matt?
house, we were running around this afternoon, I pulled out for the meeting, I was like,
Did you
holy
send
crap.
this
I was
to
like-
Matt? There's a, I don't think you got one of those. Did you?
Policy thing, yeah.
Oh, I did get it.